person, but how y'all doing? Good. My name is Jaquese, but I go by JQ is my marketing name that I go by. So I'm the owner and founder of JQ Sports PR, which is a sports PR business for athletes and sports companies. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually a former college basketball player. I played at the Division I level, JUCO, and Division II. I didn't get the opportunity to play overseas, so I knew I wanted to be around sports. So that's when I started my own company. At the beginning, I was traveling to all the, elite basketball events, Nike EYBL, the McDonald's All-American, the Under Armour events. Did that for a while. Came in contact, with some of the players that you guys probably know now that are in the NBA, De'Aaron Fox, Bam Adebayo, and all those other guys. But then I started seeing some things that was, going on behind the scenes and decided to transition from being in front of the camera to now behind the camera as a brand PR manager, again, working with athletes. I also work with families as well, with the recruiting process. So that's who I am in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next person up here was a yeah. Our next panel, sorry y'all. Our next panel member, Shae, she coming up here. Um, Shae's an awesome person in North Carolina as well. She does a lot of stuff, and she's actually inspiration behind hoops and hip hop because there was one post she had up, and she said, "I'm somewhere between hoops and hip hop." So she loves basketball and she loves music. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. As he said, my name is Shae Foote. I am somewhere between hoops and hip hop because I currently represent one of the Charlotte Chargers linebackers. I'm currently a publicist for a lot of hip hop artists and pop artists. So I juggle both between both. But yeah, I'm originally from Brooklyn. I live in Charlotte now. I just recently moved and I do radio promotions for all 6 radio stations there. So anybody need any type of PR, marketing, artist development, sports branding, that's what I do. And I look forward to just speaking with you guys today. Thanks.
Excellent. And I was trying to see, but I don't think Steve can make it out here. So I will be taking his place. Steve is the founder of the League NC, is an independent basketball organization over in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I think it's their 5th year now, playing over at I forgot the rec center down there in Winston. It's behind Winston State University. But he's been doing that, and then what happened was he's actually expanded. He's with the Josh Howard Foundation, and he's also expanding into a women's only league as well for the city of Winston as well. So all that is awesome. Yeah, so Bob will be taking his place right now. Also, shameless plug, the CDs that you have on the seats, those are connected to an NFT. So if you have a digital wallet, guess what? You also have an NFT now. There you go.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for the cue.
Yeah.
Before we get into the topic, I wanted to, speak to Shae and Promise about what the NIL is and how important it is before we dive into the topic. So I wanted to get you guys input. Number one, how important is it for athletes to build their brand, no matter if they're in high school, college, or even at the pro level? Usually at the pro level, they already have their brand and what they want to do outside of their sport. But I think it's so important in today's sports that these young kids getting proactive and building their brand, knowing what they're going to do after life, after sports. So Shae, I guess you can, answer that question first.
Okay, what is NIL and how important it is? Well, NIL is the name, image, and likeness law. It was passed, 2 years ago? And it allows athletes to now profit off of their name, their image, or anything within their likeness or their brand. So now if they want to sell t-shirts or if they want to do something that they're getting paid for, they can do it without losing their college eligibility. I think it's important because it's way past due. You know, there are children that are actors and actresses and every other aspect of entertainment people can profit off of except for collegiate sports. So this is like game changing. There are so many athletes that lost eligibility because of this. So I think it's so important that every single athlete, I don't care if you're red shirted, if you're on the bench, if you're a freshman, anybody that has ever touched any type of ball should go ahead and register their name, get their brand, get their logo, and take advantage of this.
What about you, Promise?
I think when I'm looking at the naming licensing type deal, it gives a sense of, I don't want to say purpose, but it's more like you have ownership of what you do now outside of just, hey, I play basketball or I do sports or whatever, and then you can go and mess something up, or maybe not think, do something stupid. You know what I'm saying? When you have that ownership, I think you want to protect your ownership, and for you to say, hey, I have a this license or I have this type of contract with whoever, I feel personally responsible, so I have to make sure my actions are better and stuff because this is my family's depending on me, and that's how I look at the NIL licensing laws.
I know for me, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a former college basketball player, and I would say maybe my senior year, no, my junior year, I start I I didn't love the game anymore. I had a coach that wasn't very passionate. Um, we had a losing record, and I hate to lose. So it was one of those things where I was like, forget ball. Like after I graduate, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So my senior year, I made the decision to not go overseas and pursue basketball and went straight into grad school. And at that time, I didn't have anybody, I mean, besides my parents, but when you at that age, your parents don't know anything, right? They just being a parent. So, I didn't have anyone in my corner telling me, you need to start thinking about what you're going to do after your senior year. I didn't want to get a job. I mean, I've been playing basketball all my life. I didn't know what I wanted to pursue in, but I just know that I speak from a perspective where I've been there before, where I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, when the NIL was passed, for me, it wasn't so much of money, 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 money. I'm coming from the point where I want these young kids to start preparing what's after sports, because a lot of kids, they fall into that depression when they leave their college being the big man, the big girl on campus. Everybody knows who they are, but then you get into the real world, nobody knows who you are. And so that's why I feel like I'm very passionate when I speak on the NIL. It's not about money, it's about what's your plan B. And I don't know if you guys have experience, especially you working with athletes. Have you heard stories about athletes not knowing?
Every single athlete I work with, it started in the music industry, and everybody know how shady that is. So there was a lot of artists that were losing songs, losing publishing, losing everything. So that's where I got the idea of I need to be that person. So it started with the artists, and then because I'm working with artists, athletes somehow heard about me, and they're like, "Hey, I heard this is gonna pass. Do you know anything about it?" I'm like, "I don't know if it's gonna pass or not, but this is what you need to do regardless." Because even after you leave high school, even after you leave college, this is something that you should have. So go ahead and start thinking about what is it that you want to brand? Who are you outside of basketball or football? So, yeah.
And I also want to add too, it doesn't matter what level of skills you have. I hear a lot of parents or even coaches, oh, he's a bench warmer. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that you can't proactively start thinking about what you're going to do after college. You may be the sixth man or the eighth man off the bench, or a backup quarterback for a football team, but you may be a hell of a designer. You might be a great business person. So I just feel that a lot of parents and kids need to really take heed into getting themselves ready for what's after, the life after sports.
Definitely. I was just going to say that one of the biggest things, an organization is an organization. It takes hundreds of folk, you know, to push the whole team out there. So you know, a superstar is that's one person, or the team's just one thing, but it takes almost 100 people behind them just to have that organization, to have that team be successful. And it's like, so you might have not an interest, but you have knowledge in this space, but then you use those other talents that you have to build up your branding stuff. One of the biggest things I know is the whole deal with the Charlotte FC. I didn't even think that they were going to be able to, compete against Atlanta United as far as like their brand and stuff. But the way that Charlotte came in their first year, and it's like a culture shift. You know, that's one of those biggest things that I recognize off of that, as far as like your talents might be somewhere else. You might have an awesome soccer player, but it's like, but I know how to brand a soccer team. So that's what I was kind of sort of trying to get with on that.
And so the ultimate question is, how do I start a brand? It's branding and marketing is so saturated, oversaturated on how you can approach yourself creating a brand. So I get a lot of parents that are new to this space. What's building a brand? Why is it so important for these kids to show themselves on social media? And I know when I work with athletes, it's not only building a brand on social media, but it's also going to help you build a brand off the field, basketball, football, soccer, and it has to align with each other. You can't be one type of way on social media and be a whole different person off the field. So, Shae, what would you say are those key points when a player or music artist is trying to build a brand? Where should they start?
I always tell them to look within themselves. I ask them, who is your favorite athlete or who is your favorite artist? What do you know about them? I love Jay-Z. I know the day he was born. I know his mother name, his father name. I know, I know so much about him. And even for athletes, I love Kobe. You know what I'm saying? I know all his kids, his like name, what day they got married. I really know this information. So I tell them that people fall in love with brands or athletes or artists not because of everything they do while they're working, but because they know their story. So I feel like when you're branding yourself, the first thing to do is, what is your story? What is the one thing that about you that people are going to attract and say, yes, I've been there, I feel that. And that's where we start. We start with attracting people's hearts before we attract their eyes. So that's the first thing. Figure out what your story. If you were born in a different country, you have a whole nation of people you're representing. Let's start there and target that country. You know what I'm saying? If you are, anything that's unique about yourself, I start there. And then, of course, we got to go through the paperwork, registering your name, creating your logo. But when you're picking your name for your company, if you don't want to put it in your own personal name, or if you're picking your logo, use that uniqueness about yourself and put it in there. So that's where I start.
I love how you use the word uniqueness because authenticity, I always have a hard time.
Girl, no, I can't.
Y'all
I
know what
can't
I'm.
help it.
Help me out, Shae.
can't help
Promise.
you.
Authenticity.
Thank you.
I can't say it either.
A lot of people lose that, especially on social media, because they're trying to keep up with what's trending or what looks cool. And I know for me, and probably for you guys too, you can tell through the BS. You know when someone is just putting on just for clout or just to get a deal. But I think that's one of the most important things when you're building a brand is being true to yourself. Because like Shae said, when you're building a story or telling your story, you're going to gravitate those people and you're going to be able to relate, maybe at not as far as the person or their identity, but what they have went through. There may be a story of an athlete that went through battling some sort of a sickness, and somebody that doesn't even follow this athlete may have experienced the same thing. So you just got to find a way of being authentic and telling your story, so that way you can pull in your fans.
But before you start, I do know one thing. A lot of athletes, they're saying they don't want to be that guy. They don't want to be in the locker room always on live and everybody's like, who does this guy think he is? So there is a certain way to do it, but I think it's very important to capture your story. Even if you record it and don't put it out yet, have it recorded, because when you do get to the next platform, you're gonna look back and say, man, I remember when I went through that injury. You know what I mean? I remember when I went through this. And all of that is building your brand. So you may not want to be that guy in the show out and in front of the camera all the time, but it's very important to document your story and make that a part of your brand. I'm done now.
Sorry, what? Nope. Go ahead with the next question because
Well,
I was trying to.
what I was gonna say about that, I've heard parents and coaches, I don't want this kid, I don't want our kids focusing on building a brand. You guys, when you're in the locker room, it's game time. I need you to be focused. Have you experienced any coaches that have come to you personally and say, "What are you, what are you doing teaching our players on building a brand? That's not important right now."
All of them. I haven't met a coach yet. And I'm like, I completely understand. I don't want to distract, because I know as a collegiate athlete, you have school you have to focus on, real life you have to focus on. This is one thing added to your plate. So from the coach's perspective, I completely understand. But they only represent the school for 4 years. After that, you can't touch them. You know what I mean? So I do let them know that it's very important to, of course, put your schoolwork first. Of course, work out, go to practice, do what you're supposed to do. But no, after the 4th year, you still have your whole life ahead of you. So we still have to focus on the future. Me and coaches don't get along. I'm sorry.
Look, and the reason why I bring that up is because I don't know if you guys follow me on social media. Shameless plug, JQ Sports PR. I posted a reel earlier last week, and I had a few coaches to inbox me and say, "Why are you preaching about these young kids building a brand?" Now, my perspective, and I got a lot of hate DMs, but it is what it is. Like I said, I'm all about the kids being successful on and off the court. And it doesn't matter how early they start. As a coach, you're supposed to be teaching them about life, right?
Absolutely.
And if you really have the best interest for this kid, you're not just thinking about how well they perform on the field. You need to be teaching them balance. You mentioned that balance is all about balance. There's a lot of distraction nowadays. So bringing in name, image, and likeness shouldn't be the main distraction that they're paying attention to. Because as a coach, you need to show them and teach them about balance. And hey, just like it's like getting a job, building a resume. Those life skills are going to carry on to college and life after sports. So I'm just really confused as to why coaches are against it, more so on the high school level. I haven't really, had this discussion with college coaches, but with high school coaches, the majority of them are really against it. And it really makes me upset.
Because it's taking money away from the school. I don't think we're supposed to say that in public, but that's why we're taking money away from the school. When the athlete realizes their brand and their pull, and when the athlete realizes who they are outside of the school, then that takes the attention away from the school, and they don't want to have that. So I truly, truly believe, as I said earlier, if we can have child actors and actresses, if we can have 14, 15-year-olds getting signed off TikTok, then a collegiate athlete and a high schooler can balance NIL and schoolwork. So
That is so true. I want to go on to the next question. Now, as far as athletes finding the right PR or publicist, what are some of those things or skill sets or red flags that they should be looking out for?
okay, without throwing anybody under the bus, I just think it's very check your Carfax. You have to show proof. There's a lot of people. This is the social media age, so you can look like a millionaire on social media if you wanted to. So if you are sitting down with an agent, or if you're sitting down with a publicist or a marketing agent, ask them who were your previous clients. You know what I'm saying? What did you do for them? Where were they? Where were they when you first started, and where are they now? Like, I think it's very, very important. If you have somebody that says, "Oh well, I know the coach at Auburn, or I know the coach at SC State, and I could just get you in," like, you have to realize there's a transfer portal. Like, learn as much as you can about the business yourself, and then see if what they say matches up with what you already know and what you studied. The red flags would be, okay, offering money, trying to buy your way into different things. Um, Both the entertainment industry and the sports industry is really based off relationships. So if they have to buy your way into everything, they really don't have those relationships. And I'm trying to think of some more red flags. That's all I can think of right now.
I was going to add that you want, as an athlete, like I said, I work mostly with high school athletes, and there are parents that are willing to pay the money for a great PR or publicist. But speaking to the parents and also even some college athletes, you want to build a team. You have a lot of athletes that are taking on deals just because. I'm all about building genuine relationships with these different businesses and companies. When the NIL first rolled out, all I saw on social media was athletes, posted on their story now taking NIL deals. I mean, you don't even have a brand. Like, what company are you going out for? So that's what I would say, is just making sure that you're building a team with credible people, because the sports industry, just like the music industry, is a lot of vultures out there. People are really just after your pockets and don't really have a great interest in who you are as a person and what you do. And I know we have a couple of minutes left, so I wanted to, ask the last question about, do we think that the NIL will reach the independent leagues?
Me personally, yes. And the reason I'm saying that is because it may not be on a wider scale or a larger scale, but I do believe it's not necessarily an endorsement deal, but it's more going to be along the lines of regionally. So it's like, if I'm looking at, let's say, Cheerwine, for example. Cheerwine gives a person from the Drew League a deal or something. I believe that that's going to not only show interest inside of the community where they're at, but also build up numbers for that person, that organization, which in return just generates more money, revenue, and interest in some of these smaller leagues. And then they might be able to stream to an ESPN Plus or independent streaming, but they have major numbers behind that. So that's why I felt like you're going to have that wide open space for, okay, we got this independent league now. Okay, so but if you're actually doing your business and like the TBL or the the basketball tournament, like the basketball tournament is huge. It's on ESPN now, and those NIL deals I think are going to be lucrative. They just are, and they're going to build out more a bigger space, for that growth. So that was mine. I did.
I definitely agree with Promise 100%. I feel like everyone is going after the top quarterback at the top college. You know what I'm saying? Or even the top high school prospect. Everybody is going after them. So when a big company like a Coca-Cola or a Nike reaches out to an independent league and gives them that attention and gives them that platform, they now reached a whole different fan base than what they had before. I mean, of course, everybody loves Nike, but people assume we're too small. So when you do have a bigger company reaching out to independent leagues and providing them opportunities, you now have that cult following that every brand wants. And these people are like, as big as they are, they reach down to our little league and pick somebody. And sometimes they're giving deals to the whole league at one time. It's not just one player.
Definitely.
So I think it's beneficial on both ends for the brand to have every player on that team represent them, and then for the athletes to have a big brand that supports them, and they feel like it levels the playing field. So I definitely do.
What I would say to that is just making sure, as a independent league, before you start reaching out to these big companies for NIL opportunities, make sure your paperwork is in order. Okay, you can't be doing things under the table, not having the right people in the right places, because when they reach out to you, they're going to be asking those questions, and if you don't have it right then and there to present to them, they're going to move on to the next league. So I would definitely say make sure your foundation is set, because so many companies are looking to reach different demographics and audience. So if you have a league that's is popping in your local or your regional area, make sure your paperwork is right, so that way when they start reaching out to you, you have that information handy. Because trust and believe me, everyone is looking for an NIL deal.
and I don't think a lot of people understand, especially when it's coming to, and when you're talking about the sports and how branding and doing your business is so important. It's like an independent artist. Everybody who's on this panel, you know, all the way to my homeboy Chuck T, get your paperwork in order. It's only you out there. You gotta get your paperwork in order, get your LLC, and you at least have that as a basis. Athletes don't have that right now, and I think that's something that has to just be ingrained because it's like now that you know, it's like the new hustle. Like you're out there doing you know your independent stuff, but you have to have your paperwork in order so nobody can screw over you. So
No, that's true. I was assisting with an event. Foot Locker wanted to do some type of event with an AAU team. And so they came out there, everything was set up for them. The event was perfect, wonderful. Pictures, video content, social media. Um, Foot Locker asked the coach for a release paper so he can release the pictures. The coach didn't know what it was. There was not one child there that was able to be in, and it was for a commercial. No child there was able to be in the commercial because there was not a release form on each child there. So I said this was a great opportunity and a horrible ending. All you needed was a sheet of paper. The coach could have signed for every kid there, but because they didn't have one sheet of paper, all of the kids missed out on the Foot Locker commercial. And I hate seeing opportunities like that just go to waste because people don't have their business in order.
And I think too, it's because they don't want to invest. They want to, try to do things off of luck. If, that coach maybe had someone like you or hired somebody that would have known that to make sure that there was a release form, they wouldn't have dropped the ball. And so like I said earlier, it goes back to my point that when you have any type of business, if you're a music artist, make sure your foundation is set and you have those simple things ready to present. Now I can go on and on, but I know we got another panel coming up. Yes. But before we end it, I want to give you guys an opportunity to give everyone your social media.
Okay, mine is Shae _Foote PR, SHAE _FOOTE PR. Don't worry about trying to write it down. It's on the back of my shirt. So when I get up, y'all be able to see it.
Walking billboard. I like it. Go ahead.
Promise Mangum, ATM Bankshot. That's it. You're gonna hear ATM Bankshot all day today, so we're all good.
Mine is JQ Sports PR. Again, that's JQ Sports PR. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I want to thank you guys for coming out. Hopefully we have another one soon because I think this is something that can really grow into something big. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for me or Shae or Promise, please, walk up to us and ask those questions. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.